Jim, Greene has already been stripped of her committee assignments. The only other thing that would be left was potentially for censure, or yes, the House Ethics Committee could take up some sort of other punishment to express their displeasure here. Or you could have the House leadership, the Republican leadership, Kevin McCarthy, step in and say this is unacceptable behavior. So far, there is no sign that he's going to do that. Jim?
Okay, Suzanne Malveaux, thank you so much. And it wasn't just Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Congressman Eric Swalwell suddenly found himself in a shouting match with one of Greene's staffers over wearing a mask. Let's watch.
Eric Swalwell, walking in here, my staffer nicely says to him, "Congressman, you don't have to wear your mask anymore," because with what Biden said yesterday. He chases my staffer inside, everybody saw it, and gets in his face, curses at him, saying, "You don't tell me what to do."
And with me now, who I'm sure has a different version of events, Congressman Eric Swalwell of California, who is also the author of Endgame, Inside the Impeachment of Donald J. Trump. And Congressman, take us exactly through what happened between you and this aide for Marjorie Taylor Greene. You just heard her say a few moments ago that her aide politely said something to you.
Like we were friends.
Like you were friends, yeah. You go way back. Tell us what happened.
Well, I was leaving the House floor. You're still required to wear a mask on the House floor. And frankly, Jim, I just forgot to take my mask off once I came out of the building. I love having my mask off now. Greene's aide said, "Take your mask off, Congressman." And I kept walking past, and I thought, you know what? I'm tired of this shit. These marauding goons who are going around trying to bully my other colleagues. So I just went up to him and asked him who he was, and I told him, "Don't tell me what to do," with some words that you can't say on CNN, and predictably he went speechless. But this is not the way it works around here. I've worn a staff badge and I've worn a member pin, and when I was a staffer, I would never talk to a member of Congress like that. And my staffers tell me all the time they would love to talk to Marjorie Taylor Greene and tell her what they think of her policies, but there's still decorum and respect, and I think people are just losing patience with Greene.
Yeah, what is going on? What is happening with Marjorie Taylor Greene? Are other members of Congress besides Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez concerned about her stability?
Yeah, freshman Cori Bush, right, also had a number of encounters with Greene and had to have her office moved because of what Greene's doing. I mean, look, she's clearly trying to draw the foul. She gets in your face and then she goes and hits send on the fundraising emails that go out because she doesn't have much committee work to do. But this is a place that needs to start functioning again. It needs to recognize the truth of what happened on January 6th and also, take up, the America Family Plan, the America Jobs Plan. But this is just more distraction.
And you saw at the beginning of the interview, we were playing some video, Congressman Clyde of Georgia describing some of these rioters, insurrectionists on January 6th as tourists. You're seeing the video now of Marjorie Taylor Greene taunting Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez before she became a member of Congress. What is going on? There almost seems to be just a total breakdown in civility. Is that just coming from one side, in your view? Or, you're going to have some Republicans out there watching right now are saying, hold on, the Democrats also are responsible for some of this as well.
Well, I feel like you're seeing responsible Republicans like Adam Kinzinger, like Liz Cheney and others, joining us and calling for more decorum. Second, that the Greene behavior, frankly, Jim, I was a prosecutor. I've convicted people for less on stalking charges. I mean, she is following Ms. Ocasio-Cortez around for years, trying to engage with her. She just needs to let it go. She's just not that into you, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm sorry.
But if she doesn't let it go, if she keeps harassing her, stalking her, chasing her around the halls of Congress, should the Capitol Police, should the Sergeant at Arms do something about it?
Yes, for the safety of Ms. Cortez, because it's not just on the campus. This continues for Alex when she goes home. So she goes home in her district and she gets threats because Marjorie Taylor Greene will post about her and the threats come in. But as to Mr. Clyde, I was on the floor that day on January 6th. I heard the smashing of glass, the pounding of the doors, the shouting of the mob. I sent a text message to my wife that I hope I never have to send again. And I was grateful that Mr. Clyde went to the door and stayed back and barricaded it. And so to me, it's just disgraceful that he would seek to erase what that mob sent by President Trump tried to do on that day.
And let me ask you about that, because we're just showing the video now, or the picture now, of Congressman Clyde, who described rioters as tourists that day, barricading the door on January 6th. How do you form a 9/11 style commission? How do you get to a point where both sides can agree on a common set of facts as to what occurred during the insurrection that day? If you have members of Congress like Congressman Clyde, like others, many others, we'll be showing a montage of this later on in the program. If people can't agree on what actually happened, how do you put together a commission that's going to have any sort of end result that contributes to changes up on Capitol Hill if these members can't agree on what happened?
I think keep building support from law enforcement. You know, people like Officer Mike Fanone, a hero. I think he reminds us every day that he speaks out, or he gave us footage to CNN, reminds us of what actually happened. And so call out every lie. Speaker Pelosi, you know, reminds us all the time that the September 11 Commission did not happen on September 12. It was November of 2002, so it took some time to get there. So keep building the support. But it's critically important that we have this commission to understand what happened, who inspired the attack, and then most importantly, because we are going to have to inaugurate a president again, make sure it never happens again.
And we have this chilling body cam footage that Officer Fanone gave to CNN from the Metro PD here in Washington, D.C. You hear one of the rioters, one of the insurrectionists saying, "I got one." You can hear the officer just about pleading for his life, saying he has a family and so on. You signed a letter demanding that House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy meet with Officer Fanone. I know you were saying that McCarthy's office hung up on Fanone. I asked McCarthy's office about this. They say they did not hang up on Fanone. Putting that to the side, why is it important, do you think, that McCarthy meet with this officer? Because
Officer Fanone is a hero. Speaker Pelosi met with him, and I took him to meet with Speaker Pelosi and the impeachment managers. And every day that Officer Fanone hears people try and erase what happened on January 6th within the Republican conference, it really is an insult to his service, and he hopes to speak to the leader of that party, Kevin McCarthy, to see if he can impress upon his members that that day was real, the tragedies were truly suffered, and that we need to make sure it doesn't happen again. And, you know, Officer Fanone, I just checked in with him before I went on air today because I figured I'd be asked about this. He has not been reached out yet by Kevin McCarthy. It's Police Week, and I think for the sake of every officer that served that day, please, Leader McCarthy, meet with Officer Mike Fanone. He does not care about politics. He's not a Republican or a Democrat. He calls me and jams me up every day on Democratic policies he doesn't like. He's a hero who is worth hearing out. You should definitely talk to Officer Fanone, no question about it, and we're always happy to do that here as well. Before you go, though, we're following the situation, the breaking news out of Gaza right now. An Israeli airstrike has leveled a building, you can see it right here, that housed offices for the Associated Press and Al Jazeera. Both media outlets suggested that this was an effort to silence their journalists. What do you make of that? And what would you say to the Israeli Defense Forces about, you're on the Intelligence Committee, you're on a variety of committees in the House that may have an interest in what's going on over there. What's your message to the Israelis watching that video? Yeah, well, thank God those journalists are okay. And there are a number of laws, international conventions that protect journalists. And so Israel needs to make, you know, pretty damn sure that no journalist dies that's just trying to cover this conflict. Also, you know, Hamas has sent an unprecedented amount of rockets into Israel. Israel certainly has a right to defend its people, but a responsibility, a real responsibility to protect innocent life in the Palestinian areas. And I hope we can get both sides to the table to, you know, end this conflict, find a two-state solution. But thank God we have a responsible president now in the United States who I think can impress upon the Israeli leader the need to do that. All right, and President Biden, we understand the White House has spoken with the Israeli Prime Minister. They put out a readout of that call, and the President has said that, yes, Israel has a right to defend itself, but he's also expressed concern to Netanyahu during that call about the safety and security of journalists. We're going to be watching that, keeping tabs on it. Congressman Swalwell, thanks for coming in this afternoon and being the first live in-person guest on my show, as I've been anchoring here. I don't have to worry about Room anymore. We're getting in trouble for getting like a 9 out of 10. You get a 10 out of 10 for coming in here in person without the mask on. We appreciate that. And of course, Swalwell and I both made sure with one another we were both vaccinated. That's right. And we're all playing it safe here at CNN as we get back to normal life here in Washington. Thanks so much, Congressman. Thank you. We appreciate it.